Yeah.
So I think the problem is that as Africans, we've ascribed or we've relegated too
Mm.
much of our liberation to our liberators, right? So
Right.
in South Africa, we did it to the ANC. In Zimbabwe, they did it to ZANU PF.
Mm-hmm.
And all over Africa, it happens, right? Where everyone gave all this power to one group of people to liberate them.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know what happens in everything, right? You get what you give, right? Or that
Right.
you get to eat the fruits of your labor, right? So their
True.
labor was emancipation, right? And these are the fruits of the labor. So, and as as cruel as it sounds, I don't think that they are 100% wrong. They are morally wrong, but I don't think they are 100% wrong to say that we've done all this laboring to free this country. So now it's our time to eat. Because
Mm.
when we were in exile, when we were doing all of these things, when we were risking our lives, what were you guys doing?
Sitting and waiting.
Waiting for us to free you. Now that
Right.
you are free, you don't have a license to come and tell me
Mm.
what to do with your freedom.
Mm.
Um, so, like, that's why I was even, if you remember, I asked the other day, when are we as Africans going to stop blaming colonizers?
Mm. I think
Because
that's a long way to go. Hey, I think
because
that's a.
you know, because you must also understand, right, that along the bloodline of a colonizer,
Mm-hmm.
they can only be European up until so long, until they start being born on African soil, and then they are white African,
Right.
right?
Correct.
So their forefathers might be. There are Zulu people here in South Africa who don't know their forefathers are not South African.
Mm.
They are Tsonga people whose people come from across the river,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So are we going to continually look for such a weak argument when the answer is just do what it takes?
Mm.
You know, if you want a university degree, say you want a degree that takes it's a 3 year course,
Mm-hmm.
what must you do? You must pay the one
Right.
the money, and you must
Mm.
do the 3 years, right? So you can't give the one and not the other. If
Correct.
you're gonna give less of one, you're gonna give more of one or more of another.
Mm.
So we must realize that nothing comes without sacrifice. I mean, you can't even have a baby without pain.
True. I think that mainly centralizes, or it goes back to the point, where you said of part of what is not allowing this movement to advance is the fact that amongst our very own people, in the midst of ourselves, you still have people that are okay with the way things are. You know,
Mm,
you still have people that are content with how they are, what they have.
mm,
And I think as long as we have such catalysts in the equation, there's always gonna be that heavy step that we're gonna struggle to
mm,
take because it's like when a group is going towards destruction, but in the midst of the group, there's like people that are enjoying and having fun. But it's like, dude, just help us so we can stop, this thing from being destroyed. You guys are enjoying this. Some are actually going like, look, see, I told you, it's
told
happening,
you.
right? And that's one of the sicknesses we have to learn to divorce as black people, because we find
Yes.
ourselves of the times, being part of those people, I don't want to point fingers, but I think maybe once or twice, I could have done it too, like, but it comes with a level of awareness, comes with a level of consciousness, and uh, at the very top, I would say morals, because again, it all goes back to morals. I always tell people that morals are your accomplices. They're supposed to help you go on in life in very basics and fundamentals. If you can't differentiate between good and bad, I'm not speaking of good and bad as the standard or the norm, but I'm saying you don't know what good and bad is to you, you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna struggle in life with many things because then you don't have a standpoint. You don't know what to stand for. You're not gonna be able to back off some of your beliefs, and it's like, So morals is a very fundamental of life in that way. Because you're able to develop the
Maybe.
lens to navigate life in. So I think getting our morals clean is very important for this generation. I would
Mm,
say, firstly, we really, really, really need to, because it's like the other thing is how we've gotten so comfortable around these things. It's like, dude, back in the days, and I was telling my friend about this. I said, as much as it seemed like a prison, but now you realize it's consequences. Because back in the days, if you're 18 and 19 or whatever, you've just finished high school, you literally sitting at home. Like, which parents would
mm,
allow that? You know, like which parents would be happy with their kid finishing high school and saying, "I want to pursue my career in rapping." I'm not bashing rappers. I'm sorry. I'm not. Like, but I'm just giving an example. You know,
mm,
uh, there's always a joke I crack, and I say, like, to all those people that wants to be rappers and that in high school, like, already, dude, every second kid you meet in every high school in South Africa wants to be a rapper. So you've got this industry that has people in it. You've got this industry that has these artists in it. Not only do they have artists that are already in the industry, but like it's the only industry that has contenders that are still in the high school. You know,
mm,
I, I, I think there's a few industries where you can. I think there's a few fields where you can mention the fact that there's sure there's people that are working there now, but there's a large number of people that wish to be there that are still in high school. And it's like rapping, for example. I'm not against rappers. I'm a big fan of hip hop. I myself find myself listening to it sometimes. But the point is, centralizing your life around a very uncertain path is dangerous. I would say, you know, it's uncertain, very uncertain, especially in the country where we are. It goes back to what I was saying in terms of context. Like, you have to look at, the context of the time. So take South Africa, for example. The very rappers we know of, there's a very selected few that are actually making good money. So if you guys are gonna
mm,
pick a bunch of yourselves and stack yourself up in this industry, what are the chances that you're actually gonna make good money? Because remember, if you're at least not gonna live your purpose, at the end of the day, you at least want to provide for your family, as I said in the beginning. You know, so if you're not gonna serve your purpose and you're gonna wanna, you know, provide something for your family, well, at least choose a certain path. At least choose something that's substantial and something that promises a better future. Also because I struggle to understand what skill, what profitable skill you learn in rap. I may be wrong in that. I don't know. I might be wrong, but I struggle to understand that. You know.
Uh, that's a very good question to ask. What profitable skill do you learn?
Mm,
Um, but I again think that in order to succeed with a rap career, um, you already need to have the skill of marketing.
mm, mm,
Um, and unfortunately, marketing is not something that you can teach. Yes, you can go to university for it. You get a
mm-hmm,
doctorate. You can get all those degrees. But if you are not born a marketer, it's no
mm.
use.
That's true.
A
That's true.
perfect example is somebody that I don't even really like. Casper West. That guy doesn't. I think he didn't even finish high school, right?
Don't get my
But
channel can right.
he's a brilliant marketer. You cannot take that away from him. brilliant marketing. And
True.
why? That because this thing is in his blood.
Mm.
Again, my grandmother used to say to me, if something is in your blood, nothing can take it out. Nothing can remove something from your blood. And I just believe marketing is in your blood. I mean, look at Puff Daddy. He's not even a decent rapper, you know, but he's
Yes.
made, if not billions. Drake is a is an exceptional rapper,
Mm.
but because he has the skill of marketing, he's that much better of a rapper. And
Very
right now, he's running laps around people who are much better rappers than him
sure.
because
Sure. That's a very good point. So well, does that
you
highlight the fact that mastering marketing becomes an advantage in the race? Like sure, we've got the same possibilities, we've got the same capacities, but if I have marketing on top of it, does that give me an advantage over it?
I think above marketing, you need to have psychology, or you need to have a certain level of interest in psychology. Like I,
Totally.
I like to look at things from the psychological aspect of.
Always. Always. Same here.
Um, so I will ask myself, why are they making me do that? Um, I will research if I see a color, if like let's say for instance, I'm watching a PowerPoint presentation and I notice that they're using this one color too much. I will Google what's the
You're
psychological effects of the color.
right. Right. And that to a degree, it makes you the party pooper. I realized this long ago.
Yes, that
There's this
it
person at
does.
school that thinks that I find a problem with whatever they tell me, because it's like, even if they're telling me things, for me to just go, oh really, okay, that's good, or oh, is that, oh, all right,
Mm,
I always have to be like, no, but have you ever thought of it from this aspect, like,
mm,
or what do you think is happening when you're doing this, or what do you think
mm,
is the vice versa like aspect of, and it's
mm,
like, I was recently told about this app. I cannot remember the name on stream right now, but brilliant app apparently. You know, this is how it works. It gets you missions. I don't know what that means, but it gets you missions that you have to complete. It could be, just buying a thing or two somewhere. And then in return, you take a picture of the items you purchased as proof, and then you get money in return.
mm,
And I was like, really? I heard it from two different people. And I said, well, I don't want to badmouth this too, as always. But, for sure, if these people are literally giving out what practically is easy money or free money, I think in return they must be getting trillions, if not billions. Because you think of how many people are in the planet and how international this app is, and it's like,
mm,
don't you guys think of the fact that they just wanna make you feel comfortable with this little that they're giving you? And it's like, yeah, you're okay with this. Just take this and you're gonna be fine. And when you do get it, it's like, yeah, I'm good, I'm okay. I don't need to know what's happening behind closed doors. I'm getting my little share. That's it, that's enough for me. But the guy at the top is like 10x, and that's crazy. The fact that we fail to
mm,
recognize, the fact that we fail to acknowledge, and maybe just think beyond
mm,
what we're usually thinking, it hurts us. I always say we hurt ourselves a lot with the conversations we've had in our societies. It's like, there's so many concepts that we have not gone on about it the way we were supposed to. I was having a conversation
mm,
with a friend of mine today itself, actually, and I said, isn't it fascinating how society has turned certain concepts very very weirdly, and like, it's just funny. I ask myself, if you look at the things that we looked at as good and bad years ago,
mm,
and again, I know these are subjective concepts, but it's like we've grown so fond of them to a point where it's like, dude, your dad would say this is wrong 30 years
mm,
ago, right? And today you're like, dude, whatever, man, the world has evolved. I'm like, sure, the world has evolved, or they'll psychologically come up with a mechanism to make you believe it's okay, and you're just there going
Really.
like, yeah, it's
Hmm.
fine, you know.
Yeah, I was thinking about this podcast and the topic and things like that,
Hmm.
and I was thinking, oh, this thing can like get into such deep conversations, which it is, and I'm glad. Um, but and like you say, looking at things from a psychological aspect does tend to turn you into a party pooper. People don't like that about me, that I'm
Definitely.
able to recognize
Mm,
the trickery in something,
mm.
right? Something as simple as why Spur plays loud, fast music, you know, makes your heart
Right.
pump faster, makes you eat faster, makes the next person sit in the seat faster, makes them make more money, right?
Mm, mm.
It's something as simple as that, you know?
Look and say you're just being boring, man. You know,
Yeah,
I've accepted to be boring in most cases, but it's like, you know, that's just who we've become, and
yeah,
I think
you can't
I
help
think
it.
no, dude, totally. I think that's what we've become. But here's the wrong thing about it, because at least oppose me with a very
Mm.
l- argument. You understand me?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I always say argument is healthy as much as it could get at an unhealthy perspective, but it's
mm,
healthy. You know, Trevor Noah says it's better to have a scenario where we're going, this is my parking, no, that's my parking, versus this is my parking, and you're going, which parking? Wait, so you don't even see a parking at all? Now we have a bigger problem, right?
yeah,
So it's the fact that you're not choosing to oppose me with a logical argument. You're just choosing to be ignorant. And I don't like ignorance. Like generally,
yeah,
I think one of the most terrifying states that I find myself in is not knowing. I genuinely feel uncomfortable not knowing.
yeah. No, no, you're right. It's not a comfortable and a nice place because it doesn't feel safe. Um,
Right.
but something, and I think it might have to do with your exposure to outside South Africa. You
Mm,
you had exposure to beyond South Africa's borders because people, and this is something that I feel very strongly about. The South
mhm.
African school system only trains people to be workers and not
Man,
thinkers, right?
man. I
And
think Africa actually, but carry.
yeah, on a larger scale.
Hmm.
But South Africa it's even starting to make trying to know more. It's making that become um, not cool anymore. You now looked at as funny because you can read properly,
Right.
because you can spell. It's
Mm,
now an issue. Like, oh,
mm.
this is bougie. No, it's not bougie. It's just not stupid.
That's great. I recorded a video. I think well, my channel is still at the beginning, but like very very beginning of my channel, a video that I entitled "Schooling versus Education," where I said, you know,
I remember that.
and I'm sorry if I was wrong for generalizing the whole of Africa, but I said Africa generally. You know, I stand to be correct. You know, the schooling system works in a very particular way. If you notice, very similar to the Western way, because with the West, it's like a lot of the dynamics I've noticed. A lot of the dynamics of the West is based on the individual. You know,
Mm,
so same thing with schooling. You go to school, finish, get a job. You're only able to provide for yourself. It gives you a fair life, but for yourself. Whereas I think generally in Africa, you know, family is custom to us. Like that's that's culture. It's like your family gives a sense of belonging. You know, so
mm,
you almost are no one without your family because that's part of your identity at some point. So with this schooling system, we're able to fend for ourselves, but on a much larger scale, we're unable to impact the lives of our families, which defeats the whole point of education. Because I gave an example and I said, if I'm a doctor, but I'm literally the only person in my family that can go out, beat my chest with my head held high and say I'm a doctor, because I have the title, I have the PhD, I have the cars, I have the houses, but it's only me and nobody else in my family. Then that's somebody says a rich man in the midst of 10 poor people is nothing but a glorified poor person. And I don't want to be that guy. Neither do I wish for other people to be that guy. So
mm,
it goes back to what I always say about success once again, that it's not a one-man show, guys. We need to
mm,
learn how to educate ourselves in a way that allows us to improve our communities and our societies.
mm. Yeah, it's funny, sorry, how, like you talk about, in Africa, there is a big focus on community and family and
Mhm.
togetherness. Or they now it almost seems as if it's hypothetical because that no more really exists. Um, I
To that.
think, and this is an argument that I've always find myself having, especially with the guys at school, is like we we keep saying that we are not whoever we say, oh, the white man says we are this, right? We keep saying we are not that. If we keep saying we are not that, do we know who we are?
Mm.
I think the problem, or I think a big problem of Africa is that we do not really know who we are. And because we don't know who we are, we can't do what we are supposed to do, which comes back to what you were talking about,
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
If you don't know who you are, if a lion doesn't know is a lion, it's gonna be a big scary cat.
Sure.
If he doesn't know, he can kill with one bite.
Hmm.
And I think that's the problem for Africa. Africa doesn't know how powerful she is.
Hmm.
Africa, I
Totally.
mean, you find girls. They don't want to have African hair on their head. They cover it up with Indian hair or
Right.
Peruvian hair.
Mm.
Anything that's not from Africa. They don't want to have um what's this African clothing.
Mm.
There was they will want European fashion because then they make up the excuse that it's more appropriate. Appropriate for who? If you don't even work in an office, so what is appropriate? You understand?
Right.
So we don't we I think we've lost ourselves so much, and for that we can't blame. Because I was having this conversation with Lux yesterday, in fact,
Hmm.
and I was talking about the fact that we like to talk about the colonizers. Can you give me three generations before you, your father, your grandfather, and your great grandfather? Can you give me their names? I had to
I would.
dig deep to get that information, right?
Hmm.
Go and ask a Rothschild or an Oppenheimer or one of the one of the white kids. Ask them about the older generations. They know up to five, six, seven, eight generations before them.
Mm.
They know the stories about them, and I think it's because they know that much about themselves. They know what made them that much because we see it as, oh yeah, your father came here and your great grandfather came here and he took over and they had some slaves and whatever. when you hear these kids' stories, like, hey, my father came from Latvia with nothing, he didn't know how to speak English, whatever.
Mm,
No,
mm,
my grandfather came from Romania and all these other countries, fleeing Nazi rule and things like that. They had nothing. They had the shirts on their backs and things like that, you know.
mhm.
And now we are being ruled by people who came into our country under those circumstances. Now, African people, Zimbabwean people, Zambian people, all from all over Africa come into our country under this very similar circumstances. And now we turn around and say, ah, they come here to take our jobs. Like, do
Like
we
one of
want
the,
to really say to ourselves,
that's one of the things that I always laugh at when it's mentioned. When somebody says they come to take our jobs, because as much as other factors play into this, and you may mention nepotism,
mm,
connections, as we call it nowadays, or whatever. But it's like on a much fair ground, on a much fair battlefield, it goes back to my point. Dude, you are probably not skilled enough. This person has it all. So
mm,
yes, he's taking your job because you're not fit for the job. Because otherwise, one, you're South African, you're from this country, you would have probably gotten the job because you've got your advantages like that as a citizen.
mm,
But it's like, if you're not willing to develop the skills, you know,
mm,
and this centralizes one of my main concerns for my generation. It's like one of the things we really need to focus on as young people is to develop skills. Like, I had an interesting line that I think I'll probably never forget this till the day I die. And it's like, what we are today, this generation of ours,
mm.
we are our ancestors' wildest dreams, bro. Like, this
Yeah,
made me laugh
and
so hard. This made me laugh so hard, but I was like, the statement is so true. You know, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams, bro. And the thing is now they're looking at us because picture this, imagine this. Uh, your camera's off. Your camera's not showing. I don't know if it's so. As I was saying, that we are our ancestors' wildest dreams, and this is what you have to realize because when you understand this, you get your lazy ass off as a young person,
yeah,
and you find to do it yourself. Where are their wildest dreams? Do you know how much they craved? Like, they would die back in the days. They would die to have what we have today. You know,
yeah,
I particularly speak for myself here. Again, I'm from the DRC. If you read our history, when the colonizers came over, they would assign slaves to, like, go in the fields. They would assign people to go in the fields and go fetch rubber bands, right? And at the end of the day, if you don't come with enough amount of rubber bands, they would cut off your finger. Next day, you come back, not enough. They cut off your next finger. That's how it happened, literally. I don't know if it's still here. His camera is giving issue.
amen. I'm
So,
sorry.
all right, no problem. So, as I was saying, if you read into the history of my country, when the slavers came by, when the colonizers, sorry, came by, they would assign slaves to go into the fields and look for rubber bands. At the end of the day, if you come, you don't have the right amount of the rubber bands you were assigned to get, they would chop off your finger. Next day, you go
Mm,
again. Not enough. Like, you literally have to fill up a bucket. If it's not full, you get your finger chopped off. So with that type of suffering, like, do you understand how they would feel if they could have what we have today? We literally have
mm,
everything on our cell phones. Like, anything you want to know, you could literally just type it,
mm,
and you're gonna get the knowledge of whatever it is. So what fascinates me the most is the fact that, despite the fact that we've got all this, Despite
We
the fact that,
still have nothing.
right, we still struggle. We still genuinely struggle to come up with something and to say, look, we're gonna revolt and here's how we're gonna do it. Like we've got all these resources in our availability, yet we still fail. And that's disturbing.
Yeah, it's very disturbing. It's extremely disturbing to me that we, like you say, we have everything available
Hmm.
for us to do what we need to do, but we won't do it because we're so comfortable. And um, you can say, yeah, they made drugs to calm us down, and they made fluoride in the toothpaste to calm us down, and what's this other thing? Alcohol to slur us, and you can make up all of those excuses, but you know the information. Why are you not doing anything with the information? That's my question. I just would love to know why are you not doing anything with that information? Like,
Mm.
why do you love to
Right.
quote stats, quote figures, quote um, data, but you do nothing with the data. Like, that's all we do is that we scroll endlessly through this endless feed of data, because people don't understand there's a very very distinctive difference between data and information. Data is just raw data points, and information is what happens when that data is converted into something useful. um, and there's all of these things. um, I think I'm sure you read. I think it's Coded Bias and the Inconvenient Truth, and all of those Netflix specials about data being used against us. But after we know all of that, we still fall into the trap. And
We do.
I just would like to know: is it that strong of a sedative, like for us to still do nothing? Like I mean, once I could see um, the effects of alcohol, and once I could feel it, I could stop it because I had the information. I had converted the data into information, and that made me able to say, "No, this is enough. I can't drink anymore." Um, and that's just one simple thing, just one simple example. But I think if we look for things that we need to change, we will find the reasons why we need to change them, and then it will be easy to change. Because I mean, like now, you see, it's election in South Africa. Number one, we don't have load shedding. We won't have load shedding because you know they need a reason for you to vote for them. Um, the food parcels are going to be going out like crazy, and the finger pointing is going to happen. After all of that, after the finger pointing, after the endless load, endless electricity, are we going to be satisfied to go back to something that we know? Bearing in mind that we knew this is coming after the election. We knew that they are going to go back to their old ways. That
refusing,
just baffles me.
more like we're just refusing to accept because, as you said, we know these guys are gonna go back to their old ways, and
Mm,
it's very troubling to see how we're still accepting to put ourselves through the very same you know procedures. It's like what's
yeah.
coming next. You know what's coming next, and it's mad. I think, to be fair, as I said, as one of the people that come from a very uh, unbearable colonization time period, it's only right to be very aware as a young man, which I would encourage for any other young man out there, to be able to join the movement and not stand on the sideline and just be
Mm,
expecting. Because I think that's the biggest mistake that we're making. We're choosing to be spectators. Very, very dangerous. And
mm.
that's what I'd say to conclude this. It's been a pleasure having you. I know that when I
Oh,
organized this, one
same
person I knew
here.
would never decline me was Dylan. So I was like, hey, I could always count on this guy, man. But thank you so much for coming. I
I
I
know
know
it's
that
always a pleasure.
I know that this is not the last time I'm gonna be having you here. Like, I
No,
can bet
definitely.
that's not the last time. It's the first of many. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I enjoyed. And keep safe, man. God bless you from me. It's love, brother. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Till next time.
All right, no problem.